So this is a video of me making a 2-inch crankbait. I start out by taking these little templates that I've already drawn up and I scan them. And then I take those copies, cut them out, and then paste them onto whatever wood I'm going to be using. In this case, I'm going to be using balsa. Boom. There you go. And once I've got the template onto the piece of wood, it's going to go straight to the bandsaw, and I'm going to cut out the rough shape of the lure. I also make sure to cut out the slot for the lip at this point. And after that, I take the lure back over to the drawing table and I go ahead and mark where I want the lure to be tapered at. A little bit at the head and a lot more towards the tail. Now we have the general shape of the whole lure figured out, and it's time to start doing some more detailed stuff. So I've got the knife out and I'm trying to whittle out the edges, just trying to make everything a little bit more rounded, and that's usually where I ended up hurting myself or messing up the lure. And then from there, I start sanding, and this is where most of my time is spent. Probably about 15-20 minutes for each lure is spent sanding, just trying to get it as perfect as possible, and it really shows up in the final product. Now once we have that lure totally sanded out, I'm going to start cutting out a line for the through wire construction so that all of the eyelets where the line ties are and where the hooks tie onto is all interconnected. So it just makes the bait a lot stronger, and that's something you really want to do when it comes to balsa. And right now I'm drilling out where I'm going to put the weight. And here you see the line and the weight that I'm setting up inside of the lure. And I'm just attaching everything with super glue at this point. Very thin super glue. It's almost water-like in its consistency. And it really helps it get down in there and attach or adhere to the balsa. This is a piece of Lexan stock where I'm going to put this little cutout to make the lip for the crankbait. And there it is. And I just use 5-minute epoxy to attach that. And once I have that lip glued in, I'm going to start using baking soda to fill in all the cracks where I put the through wire, and then I add drops of that thin super glue, and it seals everything. It turns rock hard, and then it's ready for sanding again. And at this point, I'm going to try to sand down to maybe 220 or 400 grit, depending on how I'm feeling, and just try to get this thing as smooth as possible. It all really helps out in the end whenever you're putting on your final coat of paint. Like, all those little bumps that you don't get sanded out are going to show up, and they're going to really piss you off. You're not going to be able to do anything about it at that point. Now, I would love to get an airbrush, and I could do some really detailed stuff with these things, but right now I don't have that. Still trying to save up for it, so I'm just using a rattle can to put the base paint on this thing. Now that the base coat is done, I'm just doing a little bit of the detailed work. I think here I'm trying to imitate the spots that a bass has along its side.
Keep this living and you wind up dead.
Now it's time to attach the eyes. And now we're doing the clear coat. Here I'm using 5-minute epoxy. I should be using 30-minute epoxy. That's just a mistake on my part. But the 5 minutes sets up really quick, so I just have to be kind of fast. And I'm just trying to get a nice even coat across this whole thing, pretty thick. And then at that point, I'm just gonna rotate the lure for a little while until everything sets up. Because if you just hang it up immediately, all this epoxy can start to run towards one end and start to clump up, and it's just not a good look. And that's the final lure. If you like this video, just hit the like button. Let me know in the comments and I'll make some more. Thanks.